People say that I'm one of the greats, I'm the one that you love to hate. Shake 'em up like a quake, pop your feelings and turn to dispose them like haters I throw away. I'm forever blessed, got the spirit that's wholly controlling me, I ain't gotta coordinate. I just sit back and buckle my bells and I'm ready to blaze in the stars of my destination. Melted broadcast, open vision, melted broadcast, open vision, melted broadcast, open vision, melted broadcast, open vision.
What's going on, everyone? This is Tony Mars with the Melted Broadcast, and welcome to Season 3. Today's guest, Nigel Impey. Nigel has been a UFO witnesser and experiencer since 2014. He has dream state encounters with benevolent reptilian beings and telepathic communication. He has been given gifts of ESP and empathy. Join us as he shares his journey down the rabbit hole. Welcome to the conversation, Nigel. All right, so we're here with Nigel Impey. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Nigel?
Okay, well, thanks firstly for having me on. Been great to chat with you beforehand. Yeah, a little bit about myself. Well, I was born and raised in 1968. Come from not a wealthy family or anything, you know, just average family. My mum, my dad, 3 sisters. I was born and raised in a small country town about 30 miles north of London City in the UK. I now currently live in a place called Northampton, which is in the West Midlands of the UK, or as it formerly was called in the old days, the county of Mercia.
Okay.
I live roughly about 80 miles away from a big US Air Force base called not Upper Haven, what's it called now? RAF Lakenheath and Mildenhall, if you know it.
No, I don't.
Anyway, so yeah, I've moved around a bit in the country, done various different jobs. My last jobs were involved in doing bus and tour bus driving. So I was, you know, traveling around, even done European jobs to France, Belgium, Germany. And obviously with the coach and bus industry, having to deal with service bus work, transit bus work.
Okay.
And also school buses, which can be a bit of a pain. But anyway, so yeah, going back to when my first experience sighting happened, it was back in 2014.
Yes.
And I was working part-time at that time, doing some casual driving work for a couple of bus operators that I used to work for way back in my hometown area, you know. And anyway, this one night, I can't remember what time of the year it was. I think it might have been sort of like fall or autumn time. And I'd been watching a lot of the UFO programs on cable or satellite back then, especially a lot of those ones with the Greek dude. What was his name?
You're talking about like ancient aliens? Yeah, Giorgio Sigler or something?
Yeah, that's it. The guy with that looks like he stuck his fingers in an electric.
With the crazy hair.
Yeah. I'll tell you, actually, I'd like to meet that guy. I think he comes across as a genuine guy, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
He's not like one of these fakers. Anyway, so it got to about, I I looked at my phone, and it got to about 11 p.m. at night, and something in my mind was telling me, like, turn off the TV, um, basically go and make a hot drink and go outside. So yeah, I decided, okay, I'll do that. Go out and into the kitchen, made myself a hot drink, went out the back door into we had a small little square garden. But it was pretty open at the back there. You could see pretty much a lot of the sky. So um, I went out there, sat on the garden bench outside. Nice evening. I thought, it was a clear night. Could see all the stars. There was no wind. It was perfectly still. In fact, it felt too quiet. It's like
Yeah.
there was no dogs barking, no cats fighting, no traffic noise, no nothing. I know it was 11 o'clock at night, but you expect to hear some sounds. But
Yeah.
this, it sounded like you were like in a vacuum. It was like there was nothing,
Yeah.
which I didn't think much of at the time. Anyway, so I'm sitting on my garden bench, and the houses are on a hillside, so all the gardens went down like a hillside.
Yeah.
We were down towards the bottom of the hillside, and I'm looking down to the end of the street, and there's a building there, just normal two-story building, and right above the roof of this building was this bright white light, and I'm looking at this thing thinking, well, it looks too bright and it looks too low to be a star or a planet
Yeah.
or anything like that. And I'm thinking, and it's definitely not a plane or any aviation, because there was no sound coming from it. There was no navigation lights on it, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there like trying to piece together what the heck it could be.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking there. I've reached down, took a sip of my tea, and I've looked back up, and I've looked at this thing again. I'm thinking, because bearing in mind this thing was stationary beforehand, I've looked up again, and I was like, it's like getting closer. By this time, I'm like transfixed with this thing now. It's like I couldn't take my eyes away from it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking and watching, and this thing, yeah, it's coming closer and closer towards me, very slowly, but it's definitely moving. And I'm thinking, what the, you know? So I'm sitting there watching this thing. I've reached down, took another sip of my tea, looked back up again, and all of a sudden, this thing is literally right over the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'm looking up at this thing, thinking, what the hell is going on? I couldn't make out any structural details of this object. It was just giving off a very intense bright white light.
It was just like a big bright ball or something.
Yeah, like a ball of light, basically. And there was no sound. It was perfectly silent. There was no, humming noises, no motor sounds, nothing. And I'm just looking up at this thing with my jaw to the ground, thinking, "What the hell?" Anyway, I've stood up from the garden bench, and I've turned around and watched this thing, and it just started gradually moving again. It was stationary over my head for at least, it must have been about 5 to 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then as I say, I stood up, turned around and watched the thing as it went up the garden backyard towards the end of the street at the top. And someone had a big tree in their backyard, and this thing just sort of like disappeared behind the back of this tree, and that was the last I saw of it. And I just was then like with my jaw to the ground, thinking, "What the, you know?"
Yeah.
So then after that, sorry about the noise. I'm outside and neighbours
No,
come
you're
back.
good. Well,
Um,
real quick. Uh, let's go to your upbringing real quick. So before this sighting, whenever you're growing up, you've never had like any kind of experiences or maybe any kind of dreams where you saw UFOs, UAPs, or any kind of beings, or
Well, I've had
this.
I had when I was very young, when I was about 5, I guess. I remember looking back on things, and I remember that when I was that young, I was always scared to sleep in my bedroom without a light on, whether that be in the bedroom itself or in the hallway with the door open a bit.
Yeah,
Because I always used to say to my mum that there was a monster under my bed. I always used to call it. So, but looking back on it, I'm thinking, well, was it a monster or was I being,
yeah,
you contacted and visited then? But also I remember as well that I always used to look up at the sky, thinking, even from that age, I was always thinking, you know, we're not alone out here.
yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. And the same thing with me. To this day, I can't sleep in the pitch black and or doors open. Doors have to be closed, and I have to have some kind of a light. You know,
Mm.
in the room.
I mean,
Otherwise, I can't sleep.
I'm okay with it now. I can sleep in the dark now, but back then, it was like, yeah, if my mum accidentally shut the light off in the hallway or in my room, I'd freak out
Yeah,
basically. Um, and but I keep thinking to myself, yeah, I was thinking to myself, because I've had since that first sighting, about 4 nights later, I had actually a what I would call a dream state encounter.
okay.
Um, Basically, I was laying on the couch watching some TV, not any alien stuff, just normal TV, and I don't even recall like going to sleep. 1 minute I'm watching TV, laying on the couch. The next minute I'm not in I'm not in my home. You know, I'm in this, like, basically it was like um a, a big room with, there wasn't even any doorways in this room, um, and I was sitting behind, like, these catering, like, tables. It was like
Yeah,
made out of brushed aluminium or brushed stainless steel looking metal, and to the left of me, slightly in front of me, was a what I can only describe as your typical, like, a grey type alien. It
the
was
the sh-
sort of more of an off-white type with the big
the
eyes
short
and
ones or
all
the tall ones.
that. I don't know, because it was like sitting down, so it could have been one of the small ones. It could have been one of the
Okay.
tall ones. I'm not sure, but he was actually looking past me, like, not directly at me. He was looking from left to right, and there was no communication between us or anything like that. But then, all of a sudden, behind the grey, appeared out of nowhere this 8 to 9 foot tall reptilian humanoid that it looked like my profile picture,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
was basically like, if you know what an iguana lizard scales look like, it's like
Yeah, yeah,
light
yeah.
and dark green scales. It looked just like that. Big, thick, muscular body, thick legs going down to clawed feet. I couldn't remember every detail. And then, literally, he walked from behind the grey, and I noticed he had between a 2 to 4 foot long tail.
Oh wow.
And he stopped literally in front of my face, turned around, looked at me, and I felt like a warm energy. I didn't feel scared. I just felt this warm energy go through me. And then in my mind, I heard him turn around and say, don't be afraid. We're not going to harm you. You're one of us. And
Oh,
then
okay.
he raised a like that to me, turned round, walked off, and disappeared. And bearing in mind, I was laying on the couch. I came to, and I was bolt upright on the couch, thinking to myself, "WTF?" You know.
So whenever this being communicated with you telepathically, um, what like what were you feeling inside?
I was feeling like calm. I was feeling. I wasn't feeling afraid or anything. You know, it was just like um, I after this, I kept getting like communication and information drip fed to me over time
Yeah,
about you know how I became to be here, what my mission is, you know about my life before I came here. Um, yeah, loads of stuff. You know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because I know a lot of people when they think reptilian, they think malevolent, and
yeah,
so
yeah.
the feeling
You
that you
know,
got whenever
and that
go ahead.
that is actually part of my mission is to dispel that myth that people and judgment that people think. I know there are the ones that are malevolent, which are the Alpha Dracos,
Okay.
which are the ones that are involved with the British royalty, the military, the you know, because I know that obviously you are ex-military or are military, and you know, obviously there have been cases where the Dracos have been working with the military for nefarious uh, projects and purposes.
Yeah.
They're also involved with the religious leaders. You know, I mean, to do with the Pope and that sort of stuff. Um,
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah,
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 I 100% believe believe that. Okay, so I know in your bio, we're gonna show it whenever this episode's released. So you were given gifts of ESP and also um the gift
empathy.
of
Yeah,
becoming an empath. So
yeah,
for those of us that don't know what a ESP and being an empath is, can you explain that to us?
yeah. Sure. Um, well, basically, ESP and empathy is when you can uh, tell a person whether they're good people or bad people, not just through meeting on a personal level. You can also distance read what people are like through even through text or through a video call or whatever. You get a feeling in your gut that tells you basically, yeah, this is a good person, this is a bad
Yeah,
person, or this is in the middle sort of thing.
yeah,
But sometimes it can be hard to deal with because also empathy is the gift of feeling others' feelings and emotions,
yeah,
um, which can be very difficult to cope with because you can feel other people's pain and anger and you um, but I think I was prepared for this because my family life, my upbringing wasn't the best. My dad. I swear to this day that my dad was actually one of the baddies. One of the Dracos, because
oh wow,
he treated our family terrible. Put it this way, he would get home from work. If my mom hadn't got his evening meal on the table the moment he got in from work, he would go mad. I've heard him like through the floorboards when I was a young kid of maybe 7 or 8.
yeah,
Um, yelling and screaming and shouting at my mum. I'd come down to see if my mum was okay, and my dad would be like, "Get back up those stairs before I give you something to cry about," and all
yeah,
this stuff. Yeah, he was just, and he ate like an animal. He was just, yeah, he wasn't the best of people out there.
yeah,
Um, and I've had other bad things happen throughout my life. I mean, pretty much in my life, I was an outcast. I felt like I didn't belong. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
even when I was a young kid, when I first went to school, I didn't have friends. I was basically, I looked like a nerd or a geek or something. I wore these uh, national health black plastic glasses, and my
Yeah.
hair was like, I looked like, I don't know if you know. Brains Out Thunderbirds or Joe 90. I looked similar to that. It was like I looked a real. I hated having still photographs taken because I looked such a yeah. And because of my name Impey, we had a restaurant chain over here called Wimpy. So
Oh man,
I used to be called Wimpy Impey,
Wimpy Impy.
and
That's horrible.
and also we had a band out here called what's the name now? It was We're Only Making Plans for Nigel.
Oh man.
So I used to get the piss taken out of me for that as well. But anyway, so yeah, basically, I've been through a lot in my life, and I think that was sort of like part of the preparation for dealing with being an empath,
Yeah. So
because it's something that, people say, oh, yeah, how can. I've even had arguments with friends on Facebook, like, oh, how can you know what I'm like? I just do.
yeah,
It, it's caused some arguments because they don't like the fact that I see through. They start being nasty, and I'm like, well, this just goes to show that I know your true character and everything, and they don't like it when they get shown that.
yeah, the non-believers.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
and they also think that they know it all, and it's like in some of the UFO groups, I share my sightings and everything that I get,
Yeah, I see
and
that.
I get it. And there's one group in specific called Latest UFO Sightings, and everyone it seems on that group is like a skeptic, a disbeliever, think they know it all. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, the amount of people I've had going, oh, it's lens flare, it's pixels, it's JPEG artifacts, it's everything but
yeah,
it's what it is.
yeah,
And they say, oh, it's aviation lights, it's blinking, it's yeah. But when I take videos, what I do, I've been given a gift of being able to see beyond just the light, through that I didn't even know about this software or anything. I was guided to get this specific software off of Google Play, photo editing and whatever
yeah,
software, and how to use it. I didn't even use the tutorials. It was just like something in my mind was telling me, "Oh, you got to do this, filter strength, this, that, and
yeah,
the other," and I did it. And when I looked at the results of beyond what was on the light, I could make out that basically people think, "Oh yeah, UFOs are saucer shaped, they're cigar shaped, they're whatever," but it goes way deeper than that. I
oh yeah,
mean,
for sure.
these craft, they can blend in. I mean, say for example, if I show you a clear blue sky and there's a couple of clouds there could be a craft hidden behind the cloud or in the
Yeah,
cloud or part of the cloud,
yep,
or even just the blue sky. There could be a craft blended into the blue sky.
yeah,
I've actually caught like when I've been looking at the blue sky, I've just caught a glimpse of some metallic, glint in the sky. No aviation noises, no nothing like that. Just seen, out of the corner of my eye, I've seen a glint, and I've like videoed it, the area that it came from,
yeah,
and I've caught something. And yeah, so it's like, you people go on about, people that post cloud pictures and whatever, and laugh at them like, oh, it's just a cloud, yeah, big deal. But what they don't realise is, you know, people are like, oh, I wish I could see something. Well, you've just got to basically look up at the sky, and
Yeah,
you know
just pay
they're
attention.
around. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you've got to go into it with out of the box thinking. You've got to not just think, oh yeah, I see a plane, or I see at night I see lights, and dismiss it as a plane or a drone or what.
Yeah.
That's what makes me laugh is that people say, "Oh, it's a drone." What would a drone be doing out at 2 a.m. in the fucking morning? Sorry, my language, but
Yeah, no, you're good. I've had somebody tell me that too. I'm trying to tell them like, man, look at this video I took last night, and they're like, bro, that's a drone. I was like, seven of
yeah,
them lined up at 3 in the morning. You're like, that's the best time for them
and
to come out.
they you say to them like, well, because drones have got that electrical motor sound, like
Yeah,
four, obviously having four propellers, you've got to have four electric motors, and they create noise,
yeah, they create
you
noise
know,
exactly.
and that's why they call them drones because they drone.
Yeah.
And I think I'd notice if there was an electrical motor sound at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning,
So
Yeah.
so going back to you being on this craft. Since then, have you ever had any other encounters where you're back in this craft and you're communicating with these reptilian beings?
I've had I've had one where I've actually been inside the craft, and basically I've been shown everything around the craft. Like I've had the full tour of how I've even controlled the craft.
Can you give us a visual tour of that? A mental visual
Yeah,
tour?
basically, the craft was massive. It was like the size of a city, basically.
Oh damn.
Like the city of London, and this thing was like multi-decked. It had the bridge was like, um, funnily enough, the bridge, not like like on the Enterprise on Star Trek, you have all these lights and buzzers and bleeps and
Yeah,
all this going on. This thing, it was like basically pretty minimalistic in respect of equipment. Like at the flight deck, it was like basically you just had like two pads
yeah,
where you'd put your hands on, and it it was pretty surreal because you actually felt that you were connecting with the actual craft. It was like
yeah,
you were as one with it. And whatever you thought, like the craft would react to. Like
yeah,
if you wanted to go straight ahead, you just thought, yeah. Or if you wanted to go off at a certain angle, like so many degrees west or so many degrees east or south, or you could even go in reverse, like basically like just by thinking about it,
yeah,
you know, and you could adjust the angle of attack going up,
yeah,
like a U.S. Air Force fighter pilot can just
yeah,
like do a straight up if he wants, like
yeah,
um, yeah. So it's like that, and then like I was shown like how the systems work, how it's powered. Um, Basically, the power supply doesn't come from like massive generators or anything like that.
yeah,
The power actually comes from banks of crystals that are interconnected. Um, like you have uh, piezoelectric lighters.
yeah,
Um, like you just click and it ignites.
yeah.
It's like it's like that sort of principle, but on a massive scale, having these banks of crystals that power the entire crop.
Pretty
Um,
cool.
and these crystals will last for a long time. Before they have to sort of graduate, they have to replenish like the crystals within X amount of time. Each
Yeah.
crystal will break down at a certain point, and then they have to get new crystals for it
Yeah.
to replace them. But basically, that these crystals create a power source which they use basically EMD, electromagnetic drive systems,
Okay.
um, and they also use it for the cloaking, for power supply for lighting, climate systems, everything
Yeah.
else. They even have their own onboard hydroponic labs where they grow the vegetables and fruit and stuff.
Oh, okay.
They have they
When,
actually
when, when
have
you when you
like
said hydroponic, I was thinking of something else.
yeah, they even have like on Star Trek, basically like these machines that can replicate stuff.
Yeah.
People laugh when they talk about hidden in plain sight. Like these old shows like Star Trek, Thunderbirds, and all this sort of
Yeah.
stuff. A lot of the technology actually comes from stuff like that.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like
I always tell
you
people
know,
that.
it's like when you had on Star Trek when they had the communicator thing, like
Yeah.
flip it open
Yeah.
and
They had the
beam me
flip
up
phone. It was
to
like a flip phone. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
I
a huge
even
Star Trek fan.
yeah. I mean, I think my favorite Star Trek series was the one with John Luke.
Jean-Luc. Which one was that? I'm not familiar with the actor's names.
John,
Just
John Luke Picard. The bald headed guy, the British actor.
Hard.
Next
Okay. Yeah.
Generation. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Where you had Tuvok and all that, and
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, obviously, the original series was, yeah. I mean, yeah, you could you could actually like,
So you
yeah.
didn't like the new series, the new Strange Worlds with Captain
I
Pike?
didn't mind that. The one that really did annoy me was the one with the woman. What was her
Oh
name?
yeah, yeah. She was
Captain
what with the
Janeway.
braids. I thought that one was
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
Captain Janeway. She was annoying with her voice. Yeah, she was tough. Yeah, yeah. My
Oh
partner's
man.
talking, and she was saying he was saying like, yeah, Janeway was the tough one, but her voice was a bit grating.
So what do you think about the dude that played Spot?
The
Her brother on that show.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. He's yeah,
I forgot what his name was, but
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember
I
either.
think he did a pretty good job.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and obviously, I was also a big fan growing up of Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. I never saw it. I saw the remake of it, but I just couldn't get into it because the actor that played Doctor Who, it wasn't for me.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I grew up with the original
Yeah.
Doctor Who. You know, there was a guy that played it called oh, I can't remember the guy's name now, but he used to always wear a scarf, and he had like a robotic dog called K9.
Okay.
Tom Baker, that was it. Yeah, Tom Baker. Um, so yeah, I mean, I grew up with a lot of actual sci-fi stuff back in the days, like you know, obviously Thunderbirds. I grew up
Yeah.
with. I grew up with another one called Aquamarina, where there was like this mermaid under the sea and all this sort of stuff, and there was
What? I never heard of
cities
that.
under the sea. And I also remember growing up with what was it called now? Flash Gordon, which was a very
Yeah.
old, like you had the Flash Gordon was the good guy, and you had the bad guy, which was I can't remember the evil Kang or something. I can't remember what his name was now. But yeah, so I mean, as I say, I think a lot of it was that, I was being conditioned to actually, experience and witness things before, I was even old enough to realize,
Yeah. So aside
Yeah.
aside from seeing these reptilian hybrid beings, have you ever been in contact or seen any other kind of hybrids?
Well, actually, I have, you know, uh, the, the Nordics. Um,
Oh, okay.
I had an actual personal encounter. I swear to God that this is 100% true. Um, I was going into London one day, on the British train system, and basically where I was living in my small country town, the railway station was about a mile and a half outside of the town. Um, Purely because if you know the Rothschilds family,
Yeah.
who are involved in the cabal side,
Yeah, for sure.
who basically own they're one of the wealthiest families, the family of 13 or whatever they call them,
Yeah.
you know. And one of the Rothschilds actually owned most of the land in my hometown, believe it or not.
What?
A guy called Sir Lord Walter Rothschild, and he owned most of the land in the town. He built a museum there, which was basically stuffed animals, taxidermied animals. He was
What?
very eccentric. He used to ride about on a giant tortoise.
What?
I've got old black and white pictures that
Like
I can
like a real
quite.
tortoise?
Yeah, a massive, great big giant tortoise. He used to ride about on top of it.
What?
Yeah,
That's so random.
he was, and he actually trained instead of having horses pulling carriages. He trained zebras to pull carriages.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but yeah, the guy, he was one of the wealthiest. There was a mansion house in a park in the area. He owned that. His family owned that. And basically, yeah, going back to the railway, he didn't want the railway anywhere near his land. So hence why the railroad station ended up a mile and a half outside of the town centre.
Dang,
Oh yeah, I don't want the railway anywhere near my land. Yeah, build it elsewhere.
that's crazy.
So anyway, so I was on this train this one particular day, and we got to this one station, and these three guys get on, and I looked to these guys as they came. I was sitting by the window of the train carriage, and some of the train carriage seats had normal, like, aircraft style seating, and some had little tables between them. Like, you'd have three seats facing each other,
Yeah.
so a total of six seats or four seats or whatever. Anyway, and there was a table in the middle, like, for putting your hot drink or whatever on. Anyway, these guys came up. Oh, do you mind if we sit here? I was like, no, go ahead. And I looked at these guys, and they were typical, like, blonde hair.
Yeah.
They were tall. They had piercing blue eyes, and one sat right in front of me, and I looked at him, and I couldn't take my eyes away from him. It's like we were connecting, and I got chatting with these three guys. And I was like, "Oh, you guys aren't from England, are you?" And they were like, "No." I went, "Let me guess. Are you from Norway or somewhere?" And they were like, "Yeah." How did you know? I was like, "Well, the blonde hair, the blue eyes, is like, Anyway, but yeah, this guy, I it seemed like we were telepathically. Sorry, I've just got a military, one of these big military planes coming over from Lakenheath.
And I hear
It's one
good,
of
man.
those. It's one of those. the big 4-engine cargo planes that the military use,
Oh yeah. You talking about
like
the C-130s?
well, yeah, C-130. That's it. Yeah. We get quite a lot of those coming over here because they make a very distinctive, like growling sound.
Yeah,
Um, and also we even get the V-22s come over here sometimes.
oh
Not I haven't seen them for a long time, but
yeah,
you know what I mean. The VTOL.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, I know what you're talking about.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so I'm sitting on this train with these guys, and we were just chatting about different things, and I said, "Oh, so what are you guys doing in the UK then?" And they went, "Oh, we're just touring around, seeing different places, different parts of the UK. We're now heading down into London to have a look around London and that." Anyway, so we got into the central London terminus, which is London Euston, and got off the train. I walked with them up to the station concourse, and I said, "Oh, so where are you guys going now?" And they were like, "Oh, we're doing the Waxworks Museum, Madame Tussauds, and then we're going to be doing like the London Planetarium and stuff like that.
Yeah,
The touristy spots of London." And I just wished them a happy day and have a good time. And they like greeted me back saying, "Yeah, nice meeting you, and we'll see you again sometime."
yeah,
And that was it. And I just stood there for a minute thinking, "Do you know what? I swear these guys were actual Nordic
yeah. No,
beings, you know?"
that's so cool. I was
Yeah.
wondering, I don't know how it is over there in the UK. Like, is it how it is over here in the US, where like all the UFO UAP sightings, like they're trying to keep it under wraps and keep everybody stupid about it, or is it more
Well,
open over there?
I mean, it's like obviously you've got a famous guy over here that called Nick Pope.
Oh yeah, I love Nick Pope.
Yeah, obviously he was. There's a lot of people that think, oh, you know, is he like for real, or you I don't know, to be honest, because they our government, they're not very like your government, they don't have like these Congress hearings about anything. It's like everything seems to be hushed up. It's like
Yeah,
um, the only way you find out about UFO sightings in the UK is by contacting, or reading about it.
yeah,
You don't really hear anything admitting or from the government. I mean, there were obviously there was obviously the high profile case, which was Rendlesham Forest.
oh yeah. I listened to a few podcasts on that whole what
Well,
happened.
I,
That was pretty
I know
cool.
a guy on Facebook, a friend of mine, David, I think his name's David D. Marsden, who actually lives out that way.
Oh, okay.
And he was actually a contractor to the military. Because obviously, for those of you that don't know, Rendlesham Forest is in the county of Suffolk, and it's not too far away from the base that I've just spoken about, which is RAF Lakenheath
Yeah.
and Mildenhall. And also, you've got another place which I didn't know about until this guy told me about, which was Orford Ness. You've got a lighthouse that's on the coast there. Now, there was an actual base right on the coast there called Orford Ness, and they carried out a lot of top secret stuff there. Now, my friend, as I say, was a contractor to the military, and he was involved with avionic systems, um, and also radio, aircraft and marine radio systems.
Yeah.
He even told me like he worked on submarine antennas and stuff like that. Where an aircraft has its antenna, on the outside of the submarine will have a big wire that it comes out from the back of it and trails underneath the ocean. That's the antenna for the submarine.
Yeah.
But he was telling me about this incident, and that him and his buddies, they've lost and had people that have been affected by non-ionizing radiation from that incident.
That's crazy.
It's basically cooked people from the inside out, caused them cancers, caused this, that. And obviously, there was the guy that actually touched the craft, and it had all those ones and zeros and symbols and whatever on it.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. So I know you had a sighting a couple nights ago, I believe the 14th.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through that? Like what happened?
Yeah. Well, basically, I get it's like I don't get like a message that they're around, but I get my attention just suddenly drawn. I'll just suddenly be looking out, and I'll just suddenly see this light blinking at me, and it seems to be like it always follows like certain it's not because people say, oh yeah, it's a plane because it's following the certain flight path, like to one of your big airports or whatever. But when I see these things, it's like they don't blink like an aircraft should. Like aviation lighting blinks to a certain pattern. And a lot of the time I can see through that this, it doesn't appear to be blinking like an aircraft should.
Yeah.
And I've even had ones where like it will stay still for a couple of seconds, like as though, oh yeah, give me chance to get my phone out, and then it will start tracking again. It's like I've even had like late at night, like we get police helicopters, and but I know the difference between what I see, because the lighting colours seem different from a normal police helicopter.
Yep.
And also the sound. It sounds weird to say this, but I've had craft at night that don't sound like they should. It sounds like the sound coming from them doesn't sound like a jet or a internal combustion engine. It sounds like it's synthesized,
Yeah.
And I've even had lights appear literally before I can get my phone out of my jacket pocket to record it. The lights blinked out. I've seen some surreal stuff.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Yeah, we had a sighting. I think I sent you the video, but after they had kind of dispersed, the one that stayed there, it stayed there for like we sat there, watched it for 3 hours, and we got
3 hours.
3 hours, and we got some pretty good video of it before it took off. Yeah, I'm
So it was hanging around for 3 hours.
3 hours.
Wow.
Yep.
I've never had one like that's hung around for that. I mean, the ones I see mainly sort of like it's like a couple of minutes or maybe 5 minutes. It's like, but it always seems to be like gone. It's like, but I always know when they're around because like I'll be upstairs even and I'll hear a sound and it sounds really low and really loud, which is an indicator to me that they're around. You know, it's like
Yeah.
get yourself outside now, like you know.
So, what do you think about us getting disclosure, and what does disclosure mean to you?
Well, yeah, that's a good one. I mean, disclosure to me means basically, you know, getting out of this stigma that you know the cover-ups and the lies from the military, the government, etc. Getting the actual truth out there of what's going on. You know, I mean, I know that it's a subject where if these, you know, if well, I know that it's there. I know that it's real. I know that it's happening. But a lot of people, I think, that they're deliberately hiding this stuff away because I don't think, you know, that a lot of humanity is would be ready enough for it right now. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's you know basically they've got to wake up and start realizing what's going on themselves. I mean, obviously there are going to be people that will never wake up and will
Yeah.
never sort of grasp it. I mean, you know, I'm not saying you know it's like my partner doesn't disbelieve it, but he thinks that what I see is just planes and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, obviously he hasn't. You know, I'm more awake where it comes to like being able to see the things and know what they are, and
Yeah.
you know. But as I say, I think a lot of people wouldn't be able to emotionally and mentally be able to deal with it.
Yeah.
Um,
I understand what you're saying.
but to be honest, with a lot of the Facebook disclosure stuff, like these disclosure groups and conferences, um, there's one in specific that is called the Full Disclosure Now movement with Brian Singh.
Okay.
And they've just recently, like within the last few days, they've had a conference out at St. Pete's Beach in Florida, a big posh resort out there. But I think a lot of people use the disclosure uh, thing as a way of gaining ego, gaining fame, fortune from, you know,
Yeah.
they don't sort of like take the full disclosure its true meaning.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh yeah, I've seen posts from the conference, and it's like, oh, I'm with the legend that he's so and so, and you know, posing with cheesy grins and
Yeah.
whatever, and it's like, you know, they're not the true
Yeah.
disclosure people. Us people that have experienced and witnessed and are getting the story out there without needing to have these big flash conferences costing thousands of dollars to stay
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
resort for a couple of nights or whatever,
Yeah.
you know,
$700 for a
traveling,
ticket.
you know, traveling across the states just to get there for a couple of days and then having to drive all the way like thousands of miles back or whatever, you know. I mean, that's the thing about here in the UK, you know, you don't have to travel thousands of
Yeah.
miles to get across the country, you know.
Yeah. What we need to do is get together, and like I said, I want to introduce you to my buddy Parsi. But what we need to do is get a conference together, all the people we know for free, and have a big web conference.
You know, I mean, the thing, what you know, the way I look at it is, you know, there's a lot of people that have been involved in projects that the military did years back, which has physically and mentally scarred people.
Yeah.
You know, like the likes of Montauk and Kamloops in Canada and stuff like that,
Yeah.
where for those that don't know, is Montauk and Kamloops and stuff like that were projects that the military took young kids away from very young ages, subjected them to basically torture, mind control, because they found that there was a way of a time travel chair apparently or something that only young kids could, with their open minds and whatever, could
Yeah.
control. But they had to torture them and condition them to obey and operate these time devices and whatever. And
Uh,
for other projects, making them into super soldiers and whatever,
yeah.
like which is terrible. And the other project with the ship that they ended up with sailors that got melted into the structure of the craft.
Yeah.
Um, what was it called now? Was it the Philadelphia experiment or something?
I
Yeah,
couldn't tell.
yeah. Anyway, so basically, people were physically and mentally scarred through doing things back then. They didn't have a choice in the matter. It was like, they were taken, they had to comply. If they didn't comply, they'd get tortured and whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and also, there was, the military veterans that have experienced things, have witnessed
Oh yeah.
things, and basically they're under, threat of death if you so much as say one word about what you've seen or witnessed. You know, I've seen one where a guy was threatened, like the military police or whatever turned around in the desert of Nevada or whatever and said, "Do you realize how easy it is to make a body disappear in this desert?" Yeah.
I've heard that.
Basically,
Yeah.
you say one word, you're going to end up under the desert.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard
You
that.
know,
I've heard that.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Um, so, but what I think is, rather than have these lavish conferences and, you know, that money that people were paying or, they were booking these flash resorts and whatever, that money could have been used for charitable purposes
Yeah, for
to,
sure.
to aid these veterans, to aid because let's face it, like over here, our military veterans, our RAF guys, our army guys, and whatever, they have to fight to get disability benefits. They've stepped on mines and whatever, had their legs or arms blown off and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But do they get any recognition from our government for it? No, they like hell they do. You know, they have to go through the system like anybody else has to. They don't get any favoritism. Oh yeah, you've risked your life for your country, you've had arms and legs blown off, but you still got to fight through the system to get your pittance of a disability.
Yeah. I know what
Which
you mean.
really annoys me. It's like, and they're even homeless guys that are ex-military.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. But all right, Nigel, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up.
Okay,
Um,
buddy.
real quick, where can people get a hold of you and check
Right.
you out?
Well, you've obviously got my Facebook name and profile. For those of you who want to contact me, my my profile is Nigel Impey at Facebook, or you can get a hold of me. I've got an email address which is all under lowercase nigimp@gmail.com. You can send me an email and I'll be happy to talk with you. answer any questions you may have in an email, or you can get me under Car Rep on YouTube, which basically I'm looking actually to get more people that have experienced and witnessed. Also do some podcasts myself on my channel there.
Yeah, for sure. We'll
Um,
definitely
but
we'll definitely plug that in.
yeah,
All right.
cool.
Well, thank you, Nigel Impey. I really appreciate you coming on the show. It means a lot, man. So until then, brother, take it easy.
Yep. And you have a good day.
All right, you too, man.
Cheers, buddy.
People say that I'm one of the greats, I'm the one that you love to hate. Shake 'em up like a quake, pop your feelings and turn and dispose them like haters I throw away. I'm forever blessed, got the spirit that's holy controlling me, I ain't gotta coordinate. I just sit back and buckle my bells and I'm ready to blaze in the stars of my destination. Melted broadcast, open vision, melted broadcast, open vision, melted broadcast, open vision, melted broadcast, open vision.